Hello and welcome to the third edition of the Bookbreakrs podcast in conjunction with the Fountains of Reason, aka Paul and Enda. Give us a wave, lads. Sure you're still alive there. Yeah. This week we're going to be talking about the Premier League team of the season. So the official team of the season will be coming out shortly. So each of us have gone away and picked our own team. And then at the end, we're going to try and pick a combined team without killing each other. So hopefully that goes off without a hitch. In between, we'll stop off, or halfway through the pod, we'll stop off and we'll look at the predictions that we made for last week. So the three of us have got a privately going in the Bookbreakrs app.
Less said the better.
Yeah, less said the better for Paul and Linda.
First one.
So we'll check out our predictions for last week, and we'll make some for this week as well, and we'll show you what the private league looks like within the app. Just to quickly start off, so to intro the app is there to help people enjoy football without losing money, basically. So if you play fantasy football, Premier League fantasy football, things like that, or if you bet on football, the app can help you. It's a free-to-play predictions app, and basically you make predictions. There's free-to-play competitions with real cash prizes. If you're good, you could win some money. If not, you can also then just use the app if you bet, so you can follow some of the top predictors in there, get notifications when they predict, and if you're having a bet, then you can decide to bet on what they've predicted on or not. And the way you do that is we track a lot of statistics in the app, so you can track a player's win percentage, their profitability based on points. And you can see that at the league level, so you can see that at Premier League level, or you can see it at the market level, so you can see match results both to score over 2.5, under 2.5 stats, etc. So we'll touch on the app more as we step through the pod, but let's kick things off, lads. Premier League team of the season. How was it picking it? And how did you find the process?
Easy. I mean, it's an easy pick. It tells you a lot. Tells you a lot of the kind of ups and downs of the season. Really, that I'd imagine there's a commonality among a lot of our teams. To be honest.
Yeah. I can tell
I
you.
found it easy.
Yeah.
There was I have 4 subs there, and two of them was a big decision. They could be in the team, they could be out of the team. But to be honest, it was easy enough to. I thought.
Cool. I can tell you, lads, there's 3 players that are common to each of the 3 teams. Paul, how did you find it?
Is that all?
That's all.
Yeah, I think the more I looked at it, the more I realised that there wasn't that many outstanding players in many positions this season. You know, I think obviously with everything that's gone on the last year, it's probably understandable, but there was a few tough calls on it. I think I've picked a couple of outsiders there that I've been personally very impressed with this season. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see what comes out.
Very good. Some funky formations as well. Paul, I think yours is a brand new formation, so we might have to contact FIFA and let them know.
Is it?
It's I think it's a 4-1-2-1-2-1 something along those lines. It's probably.
I toyed with something like that, and I said, "Jesus, that's a look weird." But I'm glad Paul did it.
Yeah.
I thought it was a straightforward formation. It might have been the way it just came across on the Word document.
Okay, it might have come out funny. I mean, we are using cutting edge.
The second half of it at all.
Yeah, cutting edge technology here.
Yeah, we're using cutting edge technology. The free 40 minutes on Zoom and a bit of PowerPoint. Right, let's dive straight into it. So, Enda, I think you're up first. So, can you lads see that?
Can indeed.
Yeah. So let's just. I think it's. Oh, hold on. I need to click something here. Right, here we go. So, Enda, you've gone with a 4-2-3-1 formation. Do you want to step us through it?
Yeah. So, went for Ederson in goals. like there's my two subs. That's one of my two subs. Toss of a coin between himself and Mendy. Mendy had a bit of a wobble earlier, and I do accept that Ederson is on a bit of an armchair ride. But anytime he's called out, he makes the right decisions, and he's very good at the sweeping as well. So he's in there for me. Cancelo, no, he's got better at the defending. Yeah, and he raised forward a lot. But I was bearing in mind I have my two midfielders, so that's why I went for him. He's having a good season. Thiago Silva, yeah, pretty much like even through the whole Frank Lampard Due times, he was one rock that Chelsea had. Ruben Diaz, I mean, he's won them the Premiership basically. He's turned John Stones into a decent player. That's a job in itself. And I think he's a lot of the reason Cancelo is having as good a season as he is as well, because he talks to him a lot and he covers for him a lot. Luke Shaw can't leave him out. Has been very good. How Mourinho ever left him out is another story. Kante is back doing his dark destroying. He's the dark destroyer. Like Frank Lampard wants him to play right midfield, left midfield. He wants him to play. So now Tuchel has him back doing what he is good at, which is just destroying. Destroy, give it to someone. But he's very good at it. Souček deserves to be there. West Ham has scored 55 goals. And 55 goals, and Souček has scored 9 of them. So 1/5 of their goals for a defensive midfielder.
Really?
Okay. He right. So the most defensive headers in the stats last week was Aston Villa with 16 for the whole team with that, and Souček had 17 on his own in the game.
He brings something different, doesn't he? Like he's so tall. He's just a handful.
He is, and he kept him up last year as well.
Yeah.
So like you could not have him in the team, and he's a major reason West Ham are on this resurgence that they're on. That they're sitting pretty there at number 4. So who's to say they won't be in it in the end the last day of the season?
Yep.
Mason Mount having a great season. Now when Chelsea weren't great, he was still doing it. Okay, so for me, of the Maddison, Grealish, Ben Foden, YouTube footballer generation, he's the best of them, because when it's not going his way, he sticks in, and he can put a foot in. Like Ben Foden's brilliant. Oh, he's great. He's fantastic, because he's Fernandinho behind him getting the ball. He's going beside him, giving him the ball, and he's giving these simple passes. And every time he gives a simple pass, Jesus, that's brilliant from Ben Foden. So
yeah.
No,
he has the tag of being Frank Lampard's pet, and I did maybe see him as being that myself, but he's improved an awful lot, and his
no, maybe last year he was, but this season, like, and even when they weren't going well, he was digging in. That's character. I mean, when City aren't going well, Foden's on the bench.
Yeah.
So that answers that question.
When he's in on goal, Mount, he very often makes the right decision. He's very reliable.
He can play the ball. He can tackle. I mean, like I said, I'd have him over Grealish, over Maddison, and definitely over Foden. Bruno Fernandes needs someone to take the penalties.
You still have to score them.
He doesn't show up in the big games, but winning the league is all about doing it to the smaller teams. And he's one of the best at doing it to the smaller teams. Okay? Kevin De Bruyne, I mean, even his name says enough. Like, I mean, when he's not playing, City aren't even near. They've had no striker for how long? Okay, they've Gabriel Jesus, but Jesus, they can score more than he was. Okay? And with the last while, they've been doing without him as well. They've been doing without Aguero because of him. Because he can play these balls through to the likes of Mahrez. He just pulls the strings. He's a complete footballer. He's brilliant. And Kane up front. Now Kane has what? 21 goals, 13 assists. Okay, you might look at my bench and you see Salah and you go, oh, he's only picking him because he's this and he's that, and Salah's having a terrible season. Salah's having a terrible season. He's second for the Golden Boot at 20 goals if he's having a terrible season.
Yeah.
So that's why he's on my bench. Gundogan's having a great season. But again, he does that sometimes with Fernandinho and Rodrigo behind him, but definitely with Fernandinho. So it's, like I said, it's easy playing when things are going well. Definitely deserves, it was a toss of a coin, really. I just that I wanted to play that kind of formation that I didn't have him in the midfield. Dawson, Craig Dawson, he's played 18 times for West Ham this season. They've only lost 5 times when he's played, right? Scored 3 goals. More often than not, like he marshals the back four there for them. And again, him and Souček, reasons why they're in the top 4, and they deserve to be in the team of the season, give or take. Another honourable mention, maybe Lewis Dunk. The only reason I didn't have, and he has 4 goals versus Craig Dawson's 3. The only reason I didn't have him in my subs bench is because Brighton are way down the table. So you kind of have to place where your team's going as well.
Yeah. Okay.
And manager Pep, like he's the best for managing the big, massive millionaires and billionaires.
Cool.
And he's been knocking a great tune out of the city, so it's really knocking, I suppose.
Yeah, nice team.
Go to
Nice team. Heavy on. I mean, it's basically made up of 4 teams and Souček, which is interesting. Right, Paul.
But I found, like I said to you when we spoke there at the start, I found it easy to pick. I mean, can I think of more players in and around that? Not really, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. All right, Paul, let's jump onto your team.
Yeah, see, that's exactly the formation that I was thinking. I think that's a good quality team. Yeah, I mean, Ederson again in the season.
Sorry, Paul. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was FIFA. It's actually a new formation. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, so I mean, Ederson, in a season where there wasn't very many standout goalkeepers, he was a shoe-in. I think I had Emi Martinez on the bench. That was a bit of a toss-up really between him and Sam Johnson, because I think Sam Johnson has had a good season for West Brom in a dire team really. Ruben Dias. I mean, I was actually quite surprised last night when I realised he was only 23 years of age, because I mean the performance that he put in last night in the Champions League was outstanding. It kind of reminded me of the Roy Keane versus Juventus performance in '99. He was just unbelievable. He's been brilliant for them this season. In much, he's won the league for them and possibly the Champions League in the same way that Virgil van Dijk turned things around for Liverpool. He's that important.
It's kind of annoying when, as a United fan, when you see other teams sign. Really
we got Harry. We got Harry. Don't worry about that.
I know it's your team, Paul, but like I said, only I wanted Kante in it. I would have had Souček sitting in the front there as well. I think worth it.
Well, I think, I mean, just go through the rest of the back four. I think, Shaw was a shoe-in. He's had a brilliant season.
He's had a brilliant second half of the season, though. First half.
He has one major fault. That interestingly enough, he's not the only player at United who has this fault, but he's entirely one-footed. I mean, you could probably count on one hand the amount of times he's kicked the ball this season with his right foot. It's bizarre, really. Matic is exactly the same. I find it hard to believe that professional footballers, aren't better with both feet.
Yeah. But as one of the lads would say, his right foot's only for putting out cigarettes.
Maybe so. I've gone for Reece James at right back. It was a tight call with Cancelo, but I think James has been brilliant for Chelsea this season. I think he's equally good defending and attacking, which I think you can't really say the same for Wan-Bissaka or Trent Alexander-Arnold, for example. I think he gives a good balance, really.
He's in and out of the team, though, isn't he?
He's played 28 games, 28 of the 34 games he's played for Chelsea this season. I mean, put it this way: he's replaced Azpilicueta in that position.
But he doesn't start in Champions League. Like I think he's a very good player, but for some reason he seems to drop out for some of the Champions League games.
Well, he's very young as well, so I suppose you take a look at City last night. Look at the players they can afford to leave out as well. These clubs have big squads, but I've gone for Wesley Fofana. I could have, in fairness, gone for any of the three Leicester centre backs, him, Soyuncu, or Johnny Evans. But I mean,
I thought about Johnny Evans too.
Yeah, I mean they've all had a good season, but I think for a 20-year-old centre half, I think he's been brilliant when I've seen him playing for Leicester this season. Yeah. He's got everything. He's good in the air. He's good with the ball. He's a great tackler. He's just got a lot. He's the latest in the long line of brilliant French centre halves, unfortunately. Souček as well. Actually, I was a bit surprised when I saw this that ended put him in, because I thought I was going out on. I might have been going out on a bit of a limb with him, because I really rate him from what I've seen of him this season. I think he's. I read something recently where they were likening him to Marwan Fellaini. He's much better than Fellaini. He's good in the air. He's good on the ground. Like he's a great tackler. He's the best running stats in the Premier League. He covers more ground per game than any other player in the Premier League. So he had to be in a.
Paul, West Ham's top scorer ever in the Premier League, Paulo Di Canio, on 47 goals. He has 9 this season.
Yeah.
Put that into perspective.
Yeah, he is a good player. He is a very good player. Mount and Gundogan in midfield. I just think Mount is really started to show his quality. He was good last season. I think he's been very, very good this season. He's cemented a place in the England team as well. And England have a lot of good players in that position in midfield, but he's just so cool on the ball for a young player. Like I suppose you talk about young players, but I mean, that's the best players are the young ones, really, aren't they? I suppose you think of somebody who's 23, 24 has been young, but that seems to be the footballing peak these days. Gundogan as well. He's scored a lot of goals this season. I could have picked. I have to be honest, yeah, and this might be a bit controversial. I'm not a massive fan of Kevin De Bruyne. It's not that I don't rate him as a player, because he is obviously a very good player, but I'm not into this fucking. Sorry, I apologize for swearing, but I'm not into this view that he's this world class player. He's a good player, but I wouldn't say he's world class. He's no better than a number of other players who play in his position, and that might be controversial, but that's the view. It's the view I've had for a number of years with him. I was watching the game last night. I actually said to the missus, "Am I wrong about De Bruyne?" Maybe I am. It would be the first time I was wrong about something, but so anyway, for that reason, I like Gundogan, the hairiest footballer I think there's ever been, but he's a very good player. Interestingly enough, I couldn't justify putting Bruno in my team, but Enda did, but I could justify putting Salah in, and Enda couldn't. So that's what the fountains of reason is all about.
This is why the fountains of reason get the big bucks.
Yeah, exactly. We are not biased. I mean, I struggled to guess. Probably Luke Shaw was the only realistic United player that I could put in that team. I don't think anybody else has justified it. But I think Salah is one of the few players in the Liverpool squad this season who's maintained some level of the form he showed over the previous years. You know, I think he's got 20 goals or something in the league. So something to that effect. Like he's a quality player. I'm sorry to say I don't see him being there next season, but that's a story for another day. Son as well. I think Son has had a great season. I love watching him play. He's all action.
Equally, you'd like to taser him every now and then, wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, there was that one incident. There was the one incident where he got poked in the eye and made a bit of a meal of it. But in general, like he's just a quality player to watch, and he's good with both feet. He complements, I think, Harry Kane very well. They've had a great partnership this season. Harry Kane has to be in every team. There isn't.
I think that's a good point, Paul. Like, if you're picking the best team, then having those sort of combinations and stuff, like, I don't think you can pick an 11 that are the individual best players in their individual positions. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. No, well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, there has to be some element of a team about it. And I think Son and Kane are one of the best partnerships, probably the best partnership in the Premier League this season. And like as I said, Harry Kane, Harry is Harry, and top of the goal scoring charts, top of the assists charts. He's not going to be at Spurs next season. Cool. The bench then.
He's not going to be in United either.
Say again, sorry.
He's not going to be in United either. I can't see Levy. Roy Keane's saying go balls out for Harry. Like, I can't see Levy letting Levy so spiteful. Like, I can't see him letting him go to the Premiership.
I suppose that's also assuming that Levy still has a job after this whole debacle. Everybody else in that position seems to be dropping like flies. So maybe Levy won't survive the Super League debacle. Dominic Calvert-Lewin I was my reserve striker. Again, there wasn't many standout players this season, but I have been impressed with him when I've seen him. Not to the extent that I would think I'd want to see him at United. Or I don't think he's a classic number 9. He's not going to get 25, 30 goals a season, but there wasn't many standouts.
He could be interesting at United in that, he can head a ball, he can hold up a ball, and with the pace around him with some of the players at United, and then Bruno sort of.
But that was the problem with Lukaku. They couldn't, like, he's a Lukaku light. Lukaku light, LIT will say. They didn't have the football to get the best out of him, and they wouldn't have it for him either. So he is a good player. He wouldn't suit that system, I imagine.
In an ideal world, you'd want both of them, wouldn't you? Like, going back in the day, Keane was talking about it last week. United used to have 4 top-class strikers. Like, you do need a plan B every now and then. So, okay, I think
you're relying on Fernandes an awful lot, and he's getting burnt out. So you need something.
Agree with that. We'll move on because we need to get to the combined team later on. So I'll run through my team, and then we'll quickly look at the predictions from last week. So a lot of these have been covered already, so hopefully we can go down through it fairly quickly. I had Emilio Martinez in as starting with Ederson on the bench. I think what kind of nicked it for Martinez is he just seems to be an exceptional shot stopper, and he's 14 clean sheets in a Villa team. Whereas Ederson, has a serious team in front of him who usually have 60-70% possession. I just thought, his season was outstanding. Cancelo, Diaz, and Shaw, we've all agreed on, I think. Bar actually, no, Paul, you picked Reece James, but Diaz and Shaw we've already talked about. I think Shaw, something's happened. Shaw in like November. I don't know what it was, but he's basically been completely transformed. He's now looking like the player that United bought all those years ago. He's still only 25. So
I know, that's crazy, isn't it? He seems to have been there for so long.
Yeah. One of my toughest picks, like Diaz, we talked about Diaz. I think, what is it, first season, I have a few stats here, 14 clean sheets. He's really made the difference for them and seems to gel everything together. One of the hardest picks I had was who to put beside him. Nobody at United, nobody at Spurs, nobody at Everton. I was toying around with someone from Chelsea, Thiago Silva, maybe, Rudiger. But I actually think Stones has made huge improvement alongside Diaz. If you look at the last 2 seasons, so last season, 16 appearances, 3 clean sheets, no goals. This season, 20 appearances, 13 clean sheets, 4 goals. Like, again, a complete transformation. He's still prone to making the odd absolute howler, and he just has that in his locker. But I put him in as a combination, I think, with those three, Cancelo, Stones, Diaz, be hard enough to beat. Matty Cash was one I thought was a bit unlucky at Villa.
Well, funny you should mention that, because I was just about to suggest that one of the players that I did consider for the playing centre back with Diaz was actually Ezri Konsa from Villa, because I think he's had a really good season. Now, I think Tyrone Mings is one of the biggest donkeys I've ever seen in my life. So the fact that Villa have had a good season, not conceding a huge amount of goals, I would have to put the bulk of that down to Ezri Konsa, because it's not come from anything Tyrone Mings has done, as far as I can see, anyway.
Yeah. I then went with Bazuma in the holding midfield role. Again, there was a load of people sort of considered there, the likes of Kante, Souček, Rice. I just think I've seen Bazuma playing for Brighton a few times, and he's like a young Kante. He's very mobile. I think he's second highest in the league in terms of tackling. And again, at a club like Brighton, he's going to have to do a lot more tackling probably than most. But I think he's one with big potential. I then had KDB and Gundogan, or however you pronounce that.
The hairy fella.
Yeah, the hairy fella. And I started off sort of thinking, right, how do I fit in Bruno? And it came down to a decision between Bruno and KDB. So you and me are going to have a bit of an argument on this ball. But I just think the easiest way to think about KDB, and like, again, I'm going to look at some of his stats, right? Because his stats don't actually scream that he should be in the team. So last season, 35 appearances, 13 goals, and 20 assists. This season, 24 appearances, 5 goals, and 11 assists. Like, he's basically, Pep's completely transformed his sort of role in the team, and now he assists the assister. I don't know if you saw the second goal that Mahrez got last night.
Yeah.
De Bruyne played just the most sweet, perfectly weighted pass into Phil Foden, who then crossed it into Mahrez. He pulls all the strings. He makes them tick. Everything good they do, he's linking it up somehow. And I just think if you put a gun to my head and said pick KDB or Bruno, I'd be picking KDB all day, every day.
All day long,
yeah. Gundogan then.
I didn't pick either of them.
Yeah. Who did you have again in those positions?
I'd Mount and Gundogan.
Yeah, Mount and Gundogan. Yeah. Well, you had Gundogan, so. But you didn't pick KDB or Bruno, yeah.
No, or Bruno, yeah.
Yeah. And then one of the people who's picked up the slack from De Bruyne, who had all those goals and assists last year, is the hairy fella. He makes a lot of smart runs. Scored a lot of goals. I think he's got 12 goals this season. So I think he's
good on the ball.
Yeah, he's good on the ball, and he's strong as well. He's got a good all-round game. And then up front, I went for the partnership between Son and Kane. Like, I won't get into the stats, but like, the stats are off the charts in terms of goals and assists between the two of them. Son brings a bit of pace to the team as well. And then Grealish. So, there was a whole host of people vying for this position. You could have even had Bruno there, Mount, Maddison. There's a whole host of people there. But I just think early season, like, he's been injured now for a few weeks, but I think he is a leader. He's captain of Villa. Everything good that they do usually goes through him. I'd love to see him at United.
I was just going to ask
Where
you,
where would he
Alan,
play
like
though?
United?
What position would he play at United? Would
I
he
think
play on the left wing?
I think he'd probably play on the left of the three. We'll say in the role here that you have, Paul, for Salah, I'd see him there kind of playing off a main number 9. He's tricky, he's strong, he's a good character, he's, I think he just ticks so many boxes.
He dives.
He dives. I think they all dive. I think,
I think he's just probably better at it than the rest of them.
No, but
Really. Like you said, they all do it, don't they?
He absolutely gets kicked around the park. So I think if referees,
he's the most fouled player in the Premiership. You look at him, right, for Villa. What does he do? He stays in the opposition half, gets the ball, runs around looking for someone to run into so that he'll tackle him and get a foul. Would that work for United?
I mean,
you have if I'd have more time for him if he took that ball on, tried to do something with it, held it up, tried to give it to someone. No, his one thing is to look for a foul. Now,
but in that team where you look ahead of you or look behind you and you see a certain standard of player, I think maybe he thinks he has to do that. When you go to United and you've got Bruno inside you and you've got Rashford and all these better players, Pogba, like I think he would be transformed,
Well, as you know, Alan, you've known for years that I'm not a fan of Marcus Rashford. Never have been, never will be. Yeah. And I would gladly see Grealish in the team winning fouls rather than doing what Rashford does, and that is get the ball and run straight at players, lose it.
Yeah.
One player achieves something with the ball, the other person doesn't. So I'd have him over Rashford any day of the week.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd have him in the team probably over Rashford right now. Like I do think Rashford bleeds red. He's got a lot of good attributes. He's definitely
just ordinary when it comes to it. Like he's at a certain level, and he's better than we'll say Brighton and all them teams. But he's a bit of a one-trick pony, like Paul was saying there. Like,
yeah, he's still quite young. He's still quite young.
I just don't see any progression with him. You want, Mason Mount is a very good example there. You can see the progression in him, and I just don't see that progression in Rashford. I read something the other day that apparently he's been carrying an injury for 2 years. I mean, if that is the case, then it's shocking man management.
Yeah, his back.
Or management of a player's welfare.
Not the month or 2 months before by playing them in the Europa League. Wasn't that last year? Wasn't it? He only came back into it because
he has had problems with his back.
Yeah.
Right, lads, we need to move on. Right, we're running out of time. So on the bench then, Ederson, Cash, Bruno, Salah. Nothing kind of outrageous there. Manager, can't believe neither of you picked him. Sean Dyche.
I can believe that Enda didn't pick him anyway. So.
Absolute legend. In terms of getting what he gets from what he has. Absolutely head and shoulders above any manager in the league.
I'd agree. I think I said it before.
Would you look at your team and say that team has ambition? That team, it has ambition. It means to attack. It means to go out and win every game. Sean Dyche doesn't.
Well, we don't know that. He could be better than Pep if he gets the chance.
You can only piss with the lad you have, as they say, and
I'm kind of joking here, but I actually think if
Sam Allardyce got England.
No, he's better than Sam Allardyce. Like he's been in the hole many times, and he's dragged that Burnley squad out, and he's kept them safe. If he leaves Burnley in 2 years' time,
they're gone immediately.
They'll be bottom of the table with 3 points, and people will be asking, how on earth did Dyche ever keep this squad up?
Yeah. I said to you guys a few weeks ago that they should erect a statue of him. They should erect a statue of him outside Turf Moor for it, because I've watched Burnley on a few occasions this season, and they are rubbish. They're just rubbish players, but somehow he manages to get a tune out of them. I think he's done a cracking job there.
Right, let's move on, guys. We'll jump quickly into the private league. So just in terms of, one of the features in the app, there's a private league function, which you can see down here. You can set up leagues with your friends, and once you set up a league, you decide what competitions are in it. So you could set up a private league just around the Premier League, which is what we have. You can set up a pot, so you can say like £5 a man, £10 a man, whatever, and you pay into the pot, and you manage that yourselves. But we track all the scores and what have you. You make your predictions, and it's just a bit of fun. So here's an example of a game where you go into the app, you make a prediction, and when you predict, then you see sort of what other people have predicted, and it's based on a point system. So these odds here are real bookmaker odds, and you place predictions like you would place a bet, and that's how the whole thing works. Free to play. We'll probably move quickly on, I think, because we're short on time to kind of align on our combined 11. So we've got DS, Shaw, Kane. Who's willing to make some sacrifices? Is Kane?
I'd certainly be willing, if we're looking, just one off the bat there, the right back position. I had Cancelo on the
bench.
And I think both of you guys had him in your team, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'd be happy enough for Cancelo. It was a bit of a coin toss between him and Reece James, to be honest with you. So
I put Son in as well, because the only way I didn't put him in is because I reckon I just had to have Kante in this league. So that kind of messed with who I'd have up there. So I'd have Son in.
Son, okay, cool. And
that was easy enough, wasn't
it? In terms of sitting, then are we having? Do we think 2 sitting or 1 sitting? Both of you.
I've watched United with the 2 sitting for the last 2.5 years, and it has driven me to the point of distraction. I see no reason for there ever to be 2 sitting players, but
anyway, I toss up between Kante and Souček. I go with Souček because he scores more goals, and he can actually play. Like Kante is a destroyer, and once you try and get Kante to play is where the problem happens. If he gets it and he gives it to, say, Mason Mount or someone. Cool. So I'd have Souček there sitting in front of the 4.
Sitting in front, okay, and I'll sacrifice Yves Bissouma. I'll send him a tweet later and apologize. So who's the other defender then?
I went for Fana. You went Stones, was it? And you went for Thiago Silva. And I'll be honest with you. I thought about Thiago Silva because I think for a player at that age, I think he has made a big difference. Zuma actually has played very well for Chelsea as well, but I felt that Silva was injured for a lot of the time. Maybe he wasn't as injured as I thought he was. He just seemed to me to have missed a lot of games through injury, but he is a quality player. I think Paris Saint-Germain probably could have done with him last night.
I was just about to say the same thing. I mean, imagine if they had him in centre half.
Yeah. There's a lot of bad eggs at PSG. Either of you open to Johnny Stones?
Yeah, I mean, again, it was one of the ones I considered, and you couldn't deny that himself. And I mean, in fairness to Stones, he's now keeping Laporte out of that side effectively. Do you know what I mean? And Laporte is a good centre half, so I wouldn't be against putting Stones in. I don't know how that Ender's just gone, is it? In disgust.
No, I'm still on the
on the audio.
Yeah. I just had to cut the video there for a minute.
Okay. All right. So we've
you
2 votes.
You still have your clothes on, though, yeah?
I do still have my clothes on. Thank you.
Right, we've 2 votes for Stones then. So we'll move on. One of the other ones then. So we have Son in as well. We had KDB or Bruno.
I mean, out of the 2, I honestly don't have a preference. I'm Bruno to me isn't as world class as we're led to believe by some of his stats. I don't think he's done it consistently enough. I think he's still young though. I think he's only 25 as well. Like I think his best years are yet to come, but he's quite selfish. He's got I think he's hit the highest amount of shots in the Premier League, maybe just behind Harry Kane. Actually, I think he's had 104 shots, scored 26 goals this season, and 20 of them were penalties.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I think the stats for Bruno might be overinflated.
yeah. I think
Kevin
so.
De Bruyne.
Winston Churchill said it best. Was it lies, damn lies, and statistics?
Yeah.
Statistics can say whatever you want them to say. Just ask
It's true, yeah.
And KDB's figures this season are a perfect example of that. Where if you looked purely at his stats, you might think he had a bad season, but it doesn't paint the picture.
As I said, I don't. It's not that I don't think De Bruyne is a very good player, or I don't think Bruno is a very good player. I just don't think they're as good as they're hyped up to be. Much like a lot of players, Diaz is the real deal. Harry Kane is the real deal.
You were saying he's not world class, but look at him in the Premiership. He's good enough to win games, and he's own the Premiership, and this is the team we're picking. So I'd have him in it.
Who is this, De Bruyne or Bruno?
Yeah, De Bruyne.
Yeah,
I probably I think of the two.
We'll go with De Bruyne, right? And we'll move the conversation on to Salah or Grealish or Mount.
Yeah, I'd out of the three, it'd be Mount for me. I think he's the most consistent, most improved. There's an argument for any of the three, but I think you'll find that when the Premier League Team of the Year is named, I think you're more likely going to see Mount in it than either of the other two.
Yeah. Okay. I will finalize that combined 11 and we'll share it on social media later.
And we'll be laughed at.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how close we get to it now. It'll be very interesting to see. My guess would be that the likes of Souček might, and Basuma and players like that,
not fashionable enough.
Yeah, and I think
they're Johnny Farner. They won't get in because they're not English.
I think you might see the likes of Mount and Rice put in, but
and John Stones.
But I think I'd be all right with that. Like in fairness, he gets so much grief and slack that he's turned it around, and
he has, because he could easily have left. Do you know what I mean? He could easily have. I think he was linked with a return to Everton, but he stuck at it and
hats off.
Turned it around.
He's a ball player as well. Like, he has a pass in him. Like,
yeah.
It's just the mistakes in him.
The goalkeeper is a pass in him too, isn't he?
Yeah, yes.
That was some ball.
And if he came out and he clattered you, he'd kill you.
Yeah.
Monster. Okay, lads. That's the third episode of the pod done. Thanks for your time and for picking your teams. We'll be back next week again with another topic to discuss. So yeah, thanks for watching. Check out the app. The link to download it is all over social media, and we'll see you next week.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Ciao.
Peace.